Hi guys, my name is Ben and welcome back to the Pride of Villa. Nathan is currently being trolleyed on his shots after messing up his predictions from last week, but don't worry, I'm going to be stepping in for this week. So welcome to our Game Week 2 predictions. I'm going to be giving you my thoughts into the games coming up in this week and giving you my predictions on what the final outcome will be and try and see how many we get right. Now, unfortunately, I'm not going to be doing the shots because simply put, I don't drink and quite frankly, I don't want to because of health. But hopefully we'll get Nathan doing it next time when he does his next game week predictions. But if you are going to enjoy our predictions video, please leave a like, subscribe, turn those notifications. Let's get a like spike going. Tell us in the comments down below what your predictions are for this game week 2. I want to hear you compared to me. We'll see who is the better analyzer. But without further ado, let's get started. So, we're going to miss out West Brom versus Everton and Leeds versus Fulham, simply put, because this video is going out a little bit later than that, and I feel we're going to miss it. But just in case we do get this out in time, our predictions for those two games, I believe Everton's going to roll over West Brom 3-0, and I believe Leeds are going to beat Fulham 2-1. So let's get into our first prediction, Man United versus Crystal Palace. Now, looking at both teams here, quite surprising factors. We've got Man United, who have only signed Donny van de Beek this summer so far and really looking real well with their transfers. You know, they were set to sign Reguilón from Real Madrid, and he's now joining Tottenham. As I'm recording, there have been reported to have agreed personal terms with Alex Telles from Porto, so that would be a very good signing for them. I don't really believe they need a left back. I believe a centre half and perhaps someone out wide player rather than playing Greenwood out there would be much better, like Sancho. I don't think that's going to be happening this window. So I think Man United are really going to struggle in this first start of the season. And then we've got Crystal Palace, who have signed Eberechi Eze. They've got Michui Batshuayi, and they've got that 1-0 win against Southampton last week, which was very good for them. Very surprising considering the players that Southampton have. I think this is going to be and yet again, another surprise. I think Crystal Palace are going to come out winning on this one. I'm going to go Crystal Palace 2, Man United 1. I think Eze is going to get a goal in this game. Next up, Arsenal versus West Ham, the Battle of London. We've got Arsenal, who look very, very good right now. Aubameyang has signed the thing. He has signed that 3-year contract extension, keeping him at the club for 3 more years, which is a brilliant move for the club. It's not signing, it's contract extension. Nave TV, get it right. They've still got Gabriel, who looked a really, really good man the match against Fulham last week, getting a goal as well. We've got Willian, who managed to get 3 assists, assisting all the goals of the game last week. Really underrated, should have been the real man the match, but really performed there. Still got Ceballos looking to bring 1 or 2 more players in, but Arsenal look very good at the moment versus a West Ham team that are the complete opposite. They've only signed Souček on a permanent deal. They've sold Dean Garner, a player that was supposed to be coming up through their youth academy to play in that first team. They've sold him off to West Brom for only about 17 million, I believe, which is a real steal for the player. The board's in a mess, and the fans are just not happy with West Ham. They also lost their first game, and I think they're going to be losing this game again. I think it's going to be an Arsenal battering. I'm going Arsenal 3, West Ham at 0, Aubameyang, Willian, and I'm going to go... We'll go Xhaka. We'll see what Xhaka pops up with a goal there. Southampton versus Spurs. Now, this is going to be a very interesting game. Obviously, Southampton losing that game to Crystal Palace last week, 1-0. Players looking okay-ish. They need a better midfielder for me, more creativity, because I think you've got wasted talent in James Ward-Prowse playing with someone like Armstrong, or Romeo is just not good enough. But they have got Danny Ings, they've got Salibu, Carl Walker-Peters really showing up their defence, and I think Ralph Hasenhuttl has finally worked out the way to go with Southampton, so maybe they could get something here. But I think the main talking point this week is going to be Spurs, ain't it? As we said, we haven't completed the signing, haven't officially announced it as we recording, but it's almost completed. Reguilón on a 5-year deal from Real Madrid, improving that left-back spot from Ben Davies. But the big one is Gareth Bale returning to England to play for Spurs after a 7-year-long hiatus away from them. He's coming back on loan for the year, and it's very exciting. As I said, a lot of people didn't believe this was going to be happening with Spurs, but now we're seeing it happen again for another year, and perhaps if he performs, comes back home. I don't think Bale's going to be playing in that game. I think they'll leave it. to the next game due to match fitness and sharpness. But I do believe Reguilon will be playing there. Spurs have still got the same strong team that they started with, and I think they're just going to carry on the form. So I'm going with a Spurs win here. I'm going to go Spurs 2, Southampton 0. I don't think he's going to get the goal, and I think Spurs are just going to practically cruise through them. Next up, Newcastle versus Brighton. Newcastle getting off to a very good start against West Ham, I believe it was, winning, was it 3-4-0? Really looking good in their first performance of the season. Obviously, Callum Wilson getting a goal, Jeff Hendrick getting a goal. A team looking very impressive now. Good signings in Wilson, Fraser, Lewis and Hendrick, although Hendrick doesn't offer anything to the team. Newcastle looking like they're starting to find some footing and could perhaps have a little bit of a better season than they did last year. Versus Brighton, who look okay. The big sign was Lallana. He went off in about 40 minutes in their first game. Veltman doesn't really play, and all their other players are just not coming through. They did play against Chelsea, and they did manage to give them a bit of a run for their money, 3-1. Tariq Lamptey looked very, very, very good for them. Alzante, I think it was, he looked pretty decent. Brighton have got those young and up-and-coming players, so they know what they're doing under Graham Potter, and they know what to do. I think they just need a bit more quality in that team, because I just don't think the signs they have made, especially with Lallana, is good enough considering how quick he lasted into the game. But I'm going to go with a Newcastle win here. I'm going to say this is going to be Newcastle 2, Brighton 1. I think a goal from Trossard and Maupay will get Brighton back into it and perhaps take the lead. But I think people like Ryan Fraser and Callum Wilson will just steam past Brighton in that game on Sunday. And then we've probably got the biggest game of the game week is Chelsea versus Liverpool. We've got a Chelsea team that came off a 3-1 win against Brighton. Had some positives in there. Timo Werner starting off impactful, looking really, really talented and showing why he's worth the 50 million, winning that penalty for Chelsea to set up the game for Jorginho. Although he didn't score, he did look very impactful. It did look very hard for the defence of Brighton to handle. So we'll see what it's like with a Liverpool defence that has been really shaky. Probably since the restart, they haven't been the same team. Kai Havertz wasn't in his natural position. It's going to take a little bit of time to get adjusted to the position in English football. But you give him patience, you give him time, and you'll see the money comes. Obviously, they were without Ben Chilwell, Thiago Silva, Hakim Ziyech. So really the ideal first 11 won't be there, but they're still going to keep the squad that started against Brighton. I think they're going to be fine. And then we move on to Liverpool, who are looking very interesting. As we recall, they've just signed Thiago from Bayern Munich, which is a very good sign. Perhaps that is going to be a replacement for Wijnaldum, who will be leaving to Barcelona. They've still got Tsimikas. It is reported also they are bringing in Diogo Jota from Wolverhampton Wanderers for about 43 million. A lot of money for a player that I don't think is really worth that much, and it's probably just going to be sitting on the bench. But again, in that game against Leeds, Liverpool did look probably the worst team of the two, although Salah saved them. Defensively, they were all over the place. Van Dijk looks shocking. Joe Gomez isn't good enough. And I think they're going to need probably another better centre-half. If they're really going to be spending 50 million on a bench player like Diogo Jota, they're going to need someone better in that centre-half role. But as we said, they've still got that front three of Mane, Firmino, Salah. They can still do the business there. They will have Thiago. I'm pretty sure he'll be starting in that game. So look out for him in your FPLs. And I think it's going to be a really close game. Obviously, it's the biggest game of the weekend. But I'm going to go with a Chelsea win here. I think it's going to be very, very close. I think it's going to come down to the last 20 minutes for either of these teams. But I'm going to go with Chelsea. I'm going to go with Chelsea 3, Liverpool 2. Yeah. I think Chelsea's just going to nick it in those last 5 minutes. And I think Timo Werner is finally going to get his goal in this season, starting off against Liverpool. Next up on Sunday, we've got Leicester versus Burnley. Pretty nothing game to me. Leicester cruising past West Brom, looking absolutely dreadful. Only sign they've made, Timothy Castano from Atalanta. Looking really decent, managing to get a goal on his debut. But I do believe they need someone more in that midfield and probably another centre-forward to play behind Jamie Vardy, because I just don't think Iheanacho's good enough, and I think the midfield needs a bit more creativity. Madison's not going to be starting week in, week out. But I believe Leicester is fine, still retaining that same squad that got on 6th place last year. yeah, and they're just going to keep going on from there. Versus a Burnley team who hasn't really signed anybody. So this will be really interesting to see how they're going to perform without a team that's impacted by new signings, new rotation, new first 11. But they've still got a good manager in Sean Dyche. They're still keeping on to James Tarkowski from West Ham, and they're trying to keep them all together, trying to keep the team solid and make sure that going out, no clashes, no arguments. They've all got the same level-minded, and they're going to be going onto that pitch and playing some good football. But I believe Leicester's going to win this one. I think it's going to be Leicester 2, Burnley 0. I don't really see a goal coming from Burnley, and I just think Jamie Vardy party is going to keep on going. Next up, on Monday Night Football, we've got Aston Villa versus Sheffield United at 6 p.m. Now, Sheffield United obviously got beat 2-0 by Wolverhampton Wanderers. Really didn't look up to the same form that they were trying to produce last season in their first season in the Premier League back. Signing Oliver Burke, Ethan Ampadu on loan from Chelsea, Jayden Bogle from Derby. A lot of players that are probably not starting players in those teams. But going to Sheffield United and have a lot of chance, Sheffield United putting a lot of faith in young and up-and-coming players rather than big names. I think they need a better striker, a bit better number 9. I don't believe Ollie McBurney and Billy Sharp are really cutting out. I think they need someone more definitive and outstanding in that role. Someone like Callum Wilson maybe would have done the job for them. But Sheffield United, they didn't look at to par against Wolves, and I think they are going to have that more realisation that this is the Premier League. It was just a little bit of a fluke last season, and they're just going to have to come down to the ground when they play in the Premier League this year. Now, Aston Villa, as I'm recording, we have just confirmed the signing of Bertrand Traoré from Lyon for about 17 million, which is a very good signing. Probably the only mixed sign we're going to make this window, considering he is a bit of a flair player. He's not going to offer great performances week in, week out, but hopefully he can give us great performances. We've got Emi Martinez. I imagine he's going to be starting that game. Matty Cash, I think he'll be starting. Of course, Ollie Watkins will be starting, getting the goal in the Carabao Cup round against Burton Albion, looking very decent there. Good position, good awareness of where the ball is coming from and understanding his role as that striker. I've already said this before, I'm really intrigued to see what Aston Villa is going to be like this season. I've really got a slight feeling that we're maybe going to exceed me and Nathan's expectations. And I think on this game today, I think we're going to start off with the right result. I've seen people say draws. I don't personally see a draw. I see a win, and I see the win for Aston Villa. I'm going Aston Villa 2, Sheffield United 1. We're not going to keep a clean sheet, but I do believe Ollie Watkins and Trezeguet will get a goal for us and start us on the right form when we're going to the Premier League this season. Finally, we finished the game week off with Wolverhampton Wanderers versus Manchester City, a very interesting game. Wolves nearly completing their old Portuguese team, apart from Raul Jimenez, but looking very decent against Sheffield United. Jimenez getting on the goal sheet. Also, Saiss looking very good, very underrated player there. They've still got that great midfield of Raul Jimenez? Ruben Neves, João Moutinho, Rowan Saiss, people like Fabio Silva. They're going to be bringing a lot of rotation into that team. And if they are going to be sending Diogo Jota, it really does put into interest what Wolverhampton Wanderers going to do now in terms of signings. Probably give Fabio Silva a bit more time considering how much they paid for him. And then we go into Manchester City, who's in a really odd place. They've only signed Ferran Torres and Ake, the 2 real big signings for them. It doesn't look like Manchester City are going to be up to the same form that they were starting off last season. Does it mean that's going to change Man City play style? Probably not. They're still going to be attacking. They're still always going to be on the front foot. And I think Ake is going to slip into that role alongside Laporta. And I think Ferran Torres will probably perhaps play out on the right, move Sterling over to the left, and play Aguero. Oh, no, Aguero's not fit. Play Gabriel Jesus down the centre. I think this is going to be a really close game. I think it's going to be a draw, not like its counterpart where Wolves managed to overdo them 2-0. I think this is going to be Wolverhampton Wanderers 2, Manchester City 2. I think Raul Jimenez and Ruben Neves will get a goal, and I think Sterling and probably we'll go Phil Foden if he is allowed in the team after mixing with them females. I think he'll get back in the gun. That's my predictions for Game Week 2. Tell me in the comments down below what yours are. We'll compare. We'll see who is the better one. You can also tell me on our social pages. They'll be in the description down below. Please, if you do enjoy these Game Week predictions, leave a like, subscribe, turn on notifications. Do check in for Game Week 3 when Nathan will hopefully be recovering back from his shots and probably be doing some more. But without further ado, I've been Ben, up the Villa with the pride of Villa. We'll see you later, boys.